Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome to day one, the do-over of your quantum year. Now, I'm seeing that a few people are coming in live, so I'm just going to give you a moment to join us before we dive into this. And, if you are here with me live, it would be really lovely if you could just jump into the chat and let me know that you can see me and hear me, and that on that front, technology is working. So yesterday we had this incredible session. We recorded this great class. It was all amazing. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I went off to have my dinner with my kids. And then after dinner, I thought I better just check, if Ira's got everything uploaded. Ira's my assistant. And there was a whole bunch of messages from her. Diane, I can't find the recording. It hadn't recorded. We're kind of new to using this, Zoom as our webinar platform. So we hadn't checked the thing to make it automatically record. So here we are. So the good news is we get to do it again. Yay, thank you. And see the recording is on. Yes. I didn't, because I'm new to Zoom webinar, this isn't like a Zoom call. I didn't realize, just like with the Zoom calls, that it will tell you if it's recording. So I was so busy thinking about the class that I didn't notice that it wasn't recording yesterday. I can't believe it because it was a great class. But I am trusting that this is going to be even better. So I'm so happy you're here with me. Hello, I'm just seeing some people. Helena, Jackie, Chuck, welcome, welcome, welcome. Could you guys, just to let you know, we had this yesterday. It must also be in our settings. I'll need to change it. If you're chatting and you would like your chat to be seen by everyone, have a look at the bottom of the chat column there, and you'll see it says to hosts and panelists or to everybody. And I invite you now, before we go any further, to switch it so that when you chat, it goes to everyone, because otherwise I'm the only one that can see it. We had this yesterday as well. People were like, I can't see the chat. I kept referring to chat and everyone was like, I can't see it. So please switch it to everybody, toggle it to everybody, so then everybody can see your chat. All right, my loves. So before we dive into the class, and I've got an amazing class for you today, and we've got the slides. Oh, Andrea, welcome. Happy New Year to you. Lucretia, welcome. So happy you're here. So before we dive into the slides, I do just want to start this by saying, obviously I'm aware that a lot of my community, our community, lives in Los Angeles and are affected by the fires that are happening. And, even yesterday, I was like, is it a good idea to even go on with the class right now? Does it feel appropriate to be talking about creating your quantum year and the best year of your life when so many people that I know personally and who are connected to this community are really suffering a lot right now? And, the first thing I just want to say about that is that honestly, my heart is with you so much. Obviously, I lived in Santa Monica for 12 years, and, that whole area that's been affected was just, it's just the area that I inhabited for so much of this time. And it's devastating to see it. But, like just looking inwardly, I went, what we're talking about in these sessions and what I'm sharing in these sessions, and I see these sessions as my service to community. That's why I offer them for free. It's not so that I can sell products. And yes, I will make offers, eventually in this program, but it's not about that. It's really about being of service, and it's really about sharing information that gives you control and power over your own life to create the life that you desire. And I don't see that as something that is selfish or small, because to me, this isn't just about us being able to, do a quantum year where it's like, I have all the success and I get all the money. This is about us creating a quantum year for our families, for our communities, for our society, for the world. Because I genuinely believe that the tools that we will be talking about in this program over these 3 days can be applied at that level. It's not just about sort of like us, and it can be about us, but I see even us, making quantum leaps in our lives and doing incredible things as being of the greatest service to our society and to our community and to our world. Because I know that the people who come to my events like this are all good people. And we need good people to have more power to create incredible lives, because that creates a ripple effect, and that's what the world needs right now. So I'm showing up here really in a spirit of service, and really with the hope that this can help create shifts for you and for the world in all the positive ways. And that's my intention at the beginning. And I'm dedicating my service in these classes, to everybody who is suffering right now with the fires, and my hope that their suffering is alleviated. Okay. Let's dive in. So, just a couple of housekeeping things before we go. There is a Facebook group. I hope you got the memo. There is a Facebook group for this event, and people are already in there and sharing. And I always have this thing that, like, the more involved you get and the more you do it, the more results you get. It's easy to be like a bystander, like, oh, this is a free thing. I'm not even really going to show up. I'll just like see if I can fit in, whatever, because whatever. And if you have that attitude to it, I can guarantee you're really not going to get anything out of these sessions. My intention when I created this, and and you'll see the slides soon, and the amount of thought and work that I've put into creating these sessions for you, my intention is that I'm showing up as if each of you has paid thousands of dollars to be here, right? That each of you has made a commitment that you're like, I'm in, I'm all in, and I'm serious, and I'm going to make things happen. And that's the energy that will actually move the needle in your life. If we're just kind of like, oh, this is a free thing, and blah, 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 and, watch it a little bit, and I won't actually do the things that I'm being asked to do, nothing will change, right? Nothing will change. And, I can show up here like I'm teaching something that's like thousands of dollars worth of information and thousands of dollars worth of transformation, but I can't actually do it for you. You have to show up like it's thousands of dollars worth of transformation to actually make the transformation. And that's why often, funnily, it takes us actually paying for something to make us show up in a different way. I know the first time that I paid for a coaching program and it was $300 a month, it was like, oh, I have to do this, $300. What if I didn't do it? Like, this is like real money. It's like, I've got skin in the game here. And then I really showed up. And when I signed up for my first one, that was $1,500 a month, you can imagine. And that's really what created the results that I wanted at that point, because I was like, I'm all in, like I'm so invested in this that I can't not do the things because I'm spending a lot of money on this. I need to like, show up. So it's easy when it's free just to be like, whatever. I want you to imagine right now that you have actually paid $3,000 to be here, okay? And to show up to these like it was $3,000, like you've invested $3,000, you got your credit card out, and you're like, oh my God, I've got to take this information and turn it into something great. And I guarantee you what you're gonna learn and what we're gonna do over the next 3 days is worth 10 times that amount at least. Like you could take what you learn over these 3 days and make actually millions from it. So a $3,000 investment would not be a bad investment in this at all. All right. So let's move forward with that. So get your booty into the Facebook group. Okay. That's the headline here. The other thing is our replays are going to be at this page. I hope you've received the link already, but just in case, it's dianebell.com/quantum year directory. And let's see, is that right? Quantum year directory. I think so. So all the replays will be hosted there. If you go to that page, you will also find the Facebook link. So if you're looking for that, if you're like, how do I join the Facebook group? Go to that page. Facebook link is there. There's also an introduction video if you missed it and if you'd like to catch up with it. All right, let's get this started. How's everyone feeling this morning before we go? Jam, don't know how to change JP. Hey, Jam, I can see your name anyway. It's good to see you. Welcome and Happy New Year. And Jam, if you joined late, just to let you know, and if anyone joined a little bit later, if you're using the chat and you'd like to actually chat with each other, which can be really nice while we're doing the class, make sure that you have set it to everyone, not just hosts and panelists. So if it's set to hosts and panelists, you'll see at the bottom of the chat thing where you type in your message, it says to, and you can toggle it there and make sure it says everybody so that everybody can see your messages. Unless, of course, you actually want to send it privately to me or you want to send it privately to somebody else in the group. But otherwise, if you want to do chat, let's do that. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of this year. And before we dive into the actual slides and into the class, love to just have a little moment, a little check-in with you guys. Do you have a big dream for this year? Have you already like decided this is the year that I want this to happen? Have you got like one sort of big mother goal? I call it mother goal. Like there might be lots of little ones, but have you got a big mother goal? And if you've got like a big mother dream where you're like, okay, that's the thing, like I really want that to happen. And so first of all, you can just drop in the chat and say yes if you've got that. And if you don't yet, you can say, I don't yet really know what I want to happen this year. It's fine. Seeing one yes. So Beyond that, my question is, Lisa, yeah, okay, so yes, we're getting a few yeses in here. The next question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel right now that you can make that dream happen? Like really, and I want you to be honest. And also, I joke with people yesterday. I'm like, don't do a seven. Seven's a bit of a cop out, right? Seven's like, yeah, I'm confident, but I'm not that confident. So try not to do a seven, right? It's sort of like, is it a six or an eight, really, right? Does it tip more in favor or not? And really be honest with yourself. Like, check in, like, really realistically, do you think you're going to achieve it? Not just like that fizzy, like, yeah, of course I'm going to achieve it, but like genuinely, really, can you make that big dream happen this year? Maddie's an 8. That's amazing. Andrea's an 8.5. And Gemma is a 7. I was thinking 7. I know. 8. Fantastic. I'm loving this. So there's a high level of confidence happening here. That's wonderful. Part of me immediately goes, well, guys, I think you need to make your dreams a bit bigger. If the dream is like, it's an 8, like I'm 80% gonna make it happen. I'm like, maybe you need to make that dream a little bit bigger. 6 for Jackie. Yeah. So I, by the way, do have a big dream this year. My number one dream is about finishing the rewriting the script, getting it into good shape and getting it set up, getting it, prepared to make it. And yeah, I mean, what's interesting is when you have a big dream like this, and like you're up against big odds, and that's there's these like big dreams. Then there's like for me, I'll be honest, there's some fear, right? There's excitement, there is an element of confidence, like yeah, of course I can do this, but there's also fear. I don't know. Does anyone else get that? Like I'm like, what if it doesn't? Maybe I won't. But over these 3 days, what we're going to do is really give you the tools to not necessarily guarantee, because there's no guarantees with big dreams, but really to give you the tools so that even if that big dream doesn't happen by the end of this year, it's going to happen inevitably within a given time frame. I mean, it's going to happen. And I always have this thing, and some of you have been in my world for long enough, that we don't always control the timing of it. It would be nice if we did, but we don't, right? So letting go a little bit of the time, like it has to happen this year. With big dreams, it's like if it takes till January of next year, I won't be mad. Just saying. All right, let's dive into the slides and get this party started for reals. And I'm going to go desktop, share my desktop. That's my Facebook group. And that is our presentation. So I'm just going to make sure that you guys can see this. And also, where's my chat box? I need to get my little chat box up. All right, got my chat box up. Chat box up. Okay. Let's do this. This is the beginning of the quantum year, your quantum year. And for me, a quantum year is a year where something happens that just doesn't make sense. This is about illogical success. This is about unpredictable, out of this world, crazy, insane results. This is not about, well, if I do that and do that and do that, I'll get that. And it would be like a 10 that I can achieve what I'm dreaming of. This is about like, how is this even possible? Like, how audacious is it me to think that I could do this? And when you get to the end of the year and you've actually done it, like, what just happened? How did that happen? I don't even know. That kind of fear. So I want to start with this thought. Everything can change in a single year. And I just settle into that for a second, because we can get so into ruts and so into patterns and so into grooves that we're just sort of like, oh, it's just more of the same. It doesn't seem to matter what I do. It's just more of the same. But the truth is, things can change like that, and change in such big ways and radical ways that your head is spinning. And so wherever you are now, like, don't think that it necessarily has to take 20 steps to get to your goal and it has to take so much time. It really could happen a lot faster. And that's what the quantum year is all about. Now, this experience is for you if you have a big dream, but sometimes it feels like it'll always just be out of reach. And, in tandem with this, it's like, no matter how hard you work towards those big dreams, it feels like you never quite break through. And I really know what this feeling is like, I mean, I've been in patterns like this at different points in my life, and it feels like, oh God, am I never going to catch a break? And I'm like, I keep working towards it, and you make incremental progress. It's not that there's no progress, but also it just feels like you never quite really make that big leap. And this is really what we're talking about in this class, is how we make those big leaps, not that incremental change, but the big leaps. Now, this is also for you if you're ready to step up and make the shift. You are willing to try new things, to think and see things differently. And something really key to this is, if we want to create a result that we have never had before, we're going to have to do things we've never done before. We're going to have to think thoughts we've never thought before. We're going to have to believe beliefs that we've never believed before. We're going to have to do some things differently. You have probably heard that phrase, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And yet many of us do this in our lives. You know, every year at January, we sit down to write our resolutions, and we write down our goals, and we have, and then at the end of the year, we're like, didn't really make any of those, but we do the same things the following year. We write the same goals out and we're like, didn't get them, because we're not actually changing on the inside. We're not really changing how we're doing things quite often, right? There might be other factors at play, but that's it. So if you're like, Diane, I am ready, right? I'm ready to just open up, think in a different way, try some new things. You're here for a reason. This is going to be for you. Now, it's not going to be for you if you're somebody that doesn't really care about achieving your big dreams. I would say, if you're kind of like, I don't really care, like if they happen or not, it's not a big deal. Just carry on with your life and save yourself the bother of watching these, right? Because we are here for like the big dreams, the big dreamers. Now, it's also not going to be for you if you're stuck in your ways and you're not willing to see things differently. And, this is one of these things that I think a lot of us we'll say to ourselves, oh yeah, I'm willing to see things differently, but we're really married to our beliefs. We're really married to our way of seeing the world. Oh, I tried that, didn't work. Oh, I did that, just not for me, it didn't work. And it's that thing, and then we wonder why we're stuck. Whatever it is that you've been believing up till this point, and it might be a lot of great things, it's got you to where you are right now. And you might be in a great place in life. And let's be honest, this isn't necessarily about going from a terrible place to a great place. What happens in our life often is, we overcome certain things. We get to a level where we're like, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe I've made it here. But you want to make that next level leap, right? And you know that you're living at a level of life that a few years ago was a dream. Like, you would have been like, no way. So for instance, in my own life, that would be for example, when I had sold my first script and I was making money as a screenwriter, that was an absolute fantasy for me for so many years. But then I reached the point where I was like, but I want something to get made. It's like, sure, I know how to write a script. That for me was a fantasy for years, like actually writing scripts and finishing them. But I'd got to this point now. I know how to write scripts and finish them. I know I'm good at it. I know I get paid for it. I can pay my rent. I can live my life from the money that I make from screenwriting, but nothing's getting made. And that became that breakthrough that I desired. So I wasn't living at the lowest level of the journey. Now, you could be at any point of this journey, and this will be helpful for you. This is about those breakthroughs, though, right? So you might find yourself right now in your life like you've plateaued in a certain place. And as I said, it might be an amazing one, but you're ready now to go to that next place. This is what it's for. Now, this experience is also not for you if you are the kind of person who thinks everything's a scam and it's all to make someone else money. I say this with the deepest love and affection, but I just don't love that energy around me. Yes, I run a business, and yes, I will share offers and ways to work with me. And I love doing that, and I love people jumping into them. And it's, but when I come here to share this class, it's not a scam, and it's not just about me making money. It's genuinely about how can I help you to live the life of your dreams? Like, that's what we're here for. So if you've got that funny energy about these things, though, just let yourself go. All right. Now, my promise to you is I will give you as much value as I can in these sessions. And I really mean that. Like I said at the beginning, I've prepared this as if it was a paid class that you've paid thousands of dollars to come to. So I'm here to give you that value and make sure that you have an incredible experience doing this. And that by the end of these 3 days, you feel certain shifts and you feel certain like clarity about this year and how to move forward in it to create massive changes in your life. Now, everything that I share, and this is true of everything that I teach, is based on real life experience. It's not what I've learned in books or from other coaches or from other places. It's really my life experience that gives me what I teach and what I share. And that's how I know that these things work. You know, these are my obsessions. Like, this is my obsession in life, is how we live our best life. It's always been my obsession. So it's all based on real life experience. Now, my intention is to provide you with real tools and information that can create lasting change in your life and move you massively forward towards your dreams. That's my goal. And I just, there's nothing that makes me happier than seeing people just break free from the conditioning that's held them back and actually soar and just make magic happen. I just think that's what we're alive for. That's what I want everyone in the world to do. Okay, in return, these are the things I would ask. Number one, please keep an open mind about the approach you're going to learn today. You might immediately, reflexively have these judgments, right? And just things that you go like, oh, I've already know this, I've heard this before. Just try to really just keep an open mind. And later, after the 3 days, if you're, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And you go, oh, well, that was, wasn't that great, whatever, fine. But during the actual sessions, see if you can just like open and receive and see how things land. And try not to immediately go, oh, I already know that. Or, oh, like, tried that, whatever. Now, the other thing that I would ask is that you tune out the noise, switch off your other apps, enjoy the class. Gift yourself this time. Gift yourself it. This is you investing in yourself. These three, we'll probably be here for an hour and a half today. These hours that we'll spend together could make such a huge impact. So gift it to yourself and enjoy it and just relish it, because it's such a special thing that you're doing, and I honor you for showing up. Now, what to expect today, we're going to learn the three main reasons that you do stay stuck, that you don't make the leap. And you're also going to learn the number one key to creating a quantum year. So that's going to be our focus. In doing this, what we're doing is creating a foundation to build upon. We can't jump into the actual taking action until we do this. So today, this is like excavating the foundations. And, my hope is that as we go through these three main reasons that you stay stuck, you might start to recognize some patterns in your own behavior, in your own mind, all that stuff that will just like, give you that opening, give you that space to create some shifts. Okay. So sometimes, and I think this is true for everybody, it feels like no matter how hard you work or what you do, you never make real progress towards your big dreams. Who has felt this? I mean, I'm just going to say, like, I have totally felt this at times. I have totally like broken down in my journal and been like, why? What's wrong with me? I work so hard. I'm doing all the things. Why is the needle not moving? Now you start to feel, and this is the problem when we're feeling like that, like we're doing everything and it's not moving. You start to feel that maybe there is something wrong with you, that you're not talented enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not pretty enough, that you're not charismatic enough, that you're not lucky enough, right? Like whatever it is, fill in your blank where you're like, the doubt starts to creep in and it's like, there's something wrong with me. There's a reason that I'm not able to make this happen. And what typically happens then when we start to feel that doubt, and that doubt starts to grow about our ability to make the thing happen, we start to think it's impossible for me because there's something wrong with me, then you stop going after your dreams. It's like, what's the point of going after it if it's not going to happen? If it's impossible, I might as well just like give up on it. Now, even worse than that is sometimes we don't just give up on going after the dreams, but we actually even give up on dreaming. And to be honest, I feel like I was like this a lot, as I'm saying that. Like, I didn't dare to dream when I was in my 20s for these very reasons. I felt like there was something so wrong with me, that I was so flawed that they would never come true. So there's just no point. It's just like creating suffering. You're just setting yourself up for suffering going after them. So why even, even having dreams? I wouldn't let myself dream. Just keep your blinkers down and, appreciate your own life and don't worry about it. Now, I want you to know this. There is nothing wrong with you. And if you've been feeling like you're in some sort of a plateau, just feel into this truth that this is not because you're not smart enough or not talented enough or not lucky enough or whatever, la, 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 right? It's not that. There is nothing wrong with you. If you have a dream and it's really a heartfelt dream, this is not just an egoic desire. And there's a big difference between those things. The ego could be like, I want this. right? I want to win that award. I want to get a big fancy house. I want the car, right? Like, and it's like, I want. This is your dreams exist on a different plane than that, though, right? And your real dreams, there's just something in you. You can feel it where you're like, oh God, right? And you see other people doing it, and you feel a bit pissed off with them, you feel a bit jealous because you're like, oh, like they're doing it and you're not. And you just have this sense in your body that that's really like, it's just the thing. Now, most people don't have it about that thing. So I always had that about writing, by the way. I always had that about writing. Now, the thing about those kinds of dreams is they are meant for you. That's why you feel that way about them. And it's like your unique coding to living your best life. So those dreams are meant for you. There's nothing wrong with you, and it is all possible for you. So that idea that we get when we're like working really hard and it's not working and we're not getting there and we start to doubt it and there's like maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe it's not meant for me. Who said that, right? Maybe it's not meant for me. Like it wouldn't be this hard if it was meant for me. But the fact that it's hard doesn't mean it's not meant for you. Okay? So it's all possible for you. Now, quantum leaps are possible when you create the circumstances for them to naturally occur. If you want to screenshot that, please do, because this is a really important point. Quantum leaps are not something that we make happen. You can't force it. There's not some like just exact, um, do this, do that, do this, and then you'll have a quantum leap. What we can do is do this, do that, and now we've created the circumstance where it can occur. Okay. So when you understand like what kind of soil you need to plant the seed of quantum leap so that it blooms, we know how to amend the soil now. And that's what we're really going to be talking about and focused on. And today, that is exactly what I'll be sharing with you, how to create that circumstances so that the quantum leap can occur. Now, I think most of you here with me live actually know me, but in case you are new to my world, and if you're watching the replay and you're not familiar with me, I'm Diane Bell. I'm a mom. That's my most important job in life, hands down. I'm a wife. I'm a screenwriter and filmmaker. I'm a long-time yoga practitioner and meditator. Gosh, I can't believe it now, over 25 years of practice. CEO of my multiple six-figure online business, author, and mentor. And my main obsession in my life right now is, and it's always been actually, doing things that I think are impossible. That's my, like, that's just what I love to do. Like, okay, let's try to do this. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense, but let's do it. And when I do it, then I want to help other people to do the same. Because I think we're here to expand, we're here to grow, we're here to do magical things. And I want to help as many people do that. Now, a little bit more about me. I spent most of my 20s, and this is true, and certainly my late teen years as well, my teen years in general. I spent most of my 20s afraid to dream. And I was really taught from an early age not to hope for much in life because it would cause disappointment. And, my grandmother, who had a huge impact on my life, huge influence, who was a lovely, lovely woman, loved her with all my heart. But she used to always say to me, don't wish for too much and you'll never be disappointed. Like that was the holy grail in life. And, I really internalized that. It was like my job was to not try to dream beyond my station in life because, it would just cause me pain. So I really wanted to write. That was my number one thing from when I was very young. Like I really felt called to write, but I couldn't. I just struggled with it because I really felt like, who am I to do this? And I'm never going to do anything with it anyway. And it's just a pipe dream, and it does, it's not practical and it's not logical and it will never work. And so what happened then was I really had to do such deep inner work to deal with my blocks because my blocks were very, very strong and very big. Now, at the time, I resented that. And often I would say to myself, and this is why I said, like, just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not meant for you. Right? It was so hard for me. It was so hard for me to actually sit down and write something. Does anyone here relate to this? But my calling to it was so deep. And what I've realized is that this is actually one of our biggest gifts when it's hard. And this is exactly why it's your dreams are meant for you. There was a reason that I was on that path and it was so hard. It forced me to learn and grow so much, right? It wasn't easy. It wasn't like I just popped into it. Now, I worked as a yoga teacher, and when I started practicing yoga, I was stiff. Like from being a child, I was just stiff. I couldn't touch my toes. I wasn't bendy at all. So when I started practicing yoga in my early 20s, like I was the stiffest person in the room every time. Like I was the worst at the yoga, right? Like because I couldn't bend, I couldn't get in any of the positions. And so it was really hard for me. Like positions that other people were doing and they made it look so easy were just a struggle for me. And then one day I went to this class and I was really almost about to walk out because everyone was making everything look easy and it was so hard for me. And my teacher came over to me and he said, Diane, the people who are stiff make the best yogis. And I remember like literally having that response. I just kind of wanted to say, fuck you, right? Like I do not make the best yogi. I'm like the worst in this room. And I felt like he was just saying it to make me feel better because I thought he'd registered the fact that I was just about to burst into tears. And, I took it on, I said, thank you. And I'm like, "Oh, that was just a platitude to make me feel better." Well, it wasn't until years later, and I'm teaching yoga, and these people would come into my room to practice yoga. And I would often have people come who were, they were young and they were like very bendy. They had been gymnasts or dancers or something, and they could just pop themselves into every position without any effort. And I would watch them and I would go, oh, I totally know now what that teacher meant when he said that to me. The people who are stiff make the best yogis, right? Because yoga is not about popping yourself into positions. The work that I had to do, the surrendering of my ego, the surrendering of like into discomfort, right? Learning to really breathe and relax even when everything in my body was going, hell no, right? Like all of that, that's what yoga is about. And I was getting it like in spades. And so it's the same with this, right? Like I went through that same thing with coming to be a writer. I see it now as my greatest gift that it was hard because that's what like led me to do this inner work to make these shifts. Now, what happened as a result, and as I say, I had to do deep inner work. As a result of that, when I finished my first screenplay, within no time, within like a year, I sold it. And this is talk about one of these quantum years. I started the year as a yoga teacher living in Barcelona. And in January of that year, I optioned my first screenplay. By March, I'd been hired to rewrite a screenplay for John McTiernan, the director of Die Hard. Like, what? By the middle of the year, I was hired to write another film. So, by the end of this year, I was living in Los Angeles. I'd met the man who was good, who's now my husband. Like my whole life changed. And this is what I mean about your whole life can change. If you had told me in December the year before that, like 1 year from now, you'll be living in Los Angeles. You'll have written two scripts, one with like, a legendary director. You'll have sold your first screenplay. I'd have been like, what? Are you on drugs? Like, that's not going to happen. That's insanity. I mean, it sounds great. Sign me up, but not bloody likely. But that's what happened. And, these things can happen. That's what we're here to talk about. I had another year like this, the year that I made my first film. I started the film. I started the journey to making the film in January one year, and it really gives me goosebumps to think about it because it's about to be the Sundance Film Festival. So in January of one year, we went out to the desert with some of my friends to shoot tests for this film. And it was this massive full moon when we were out in the desert in Death Valley. We were camping out in the desert and it was just extraordinary. And we were filming these little tests for my film. Now, I had never directed anything before. I had never been to film school. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, right? I was winging it in all the ways. And I was like, like shitting myself out there, I remember. And, 1 year later, in the full moon in January, 1 year later, I was in Park City at the Sundance Film Festival winning an award for that film. Now, from January of the year before, like that January, being out there filming those tests, I had no idea really how I was going to get the money. I had no idea if I could make a film. I mean, I had no idea about any of it. And 1 year later, I was getting an award for that film. And just let that settle into if you are, if you are in the film world, right? Like that is a quantum leap, and it's possible. Now, another time that I had this was when I started my online business, and I started it, and I just found, some journaling that I did in January of 2019, where I was like, my impossible dream at that point was to earn $10,000 a month with my business. That seemed like so much money to me. I kid you not, right? I was like, if I could make $10,000 a month with my business, this would be like, and I wrote all these things about it and I started the business. 1 year later, we made $40,000 in a single month, right? So, I mean, not just $10,000, but within a year, we were up to $40,000 in a single month. So these things can happen and they do happen and they are possible. Not every year is going to be like this. I don't know if it'd be possible that every year would be that, sort of expansion is normal in our lives, that we have contraction and expansion, that we have these years that are like pop years, but they are possible. So again, from me being just a dreamer with a script to winning 2 awards at Sundance for my movie took 1 year, one single year, quantum leap year, possible for you. Okay, so the important thing here is it's not about me, it's about you. And it is possible for you, whatever you're dreaming of. And please notice some of those things I talked about, like it wasn't just I achieved my dream, but I achieved beyond the dream. It's like, oh my God, right? Like, and for me just to make the film would have been like a great result, but to get into Sundance, then to win awards on Sundance, it's like, what? So, whatever you're dreaming of, you can take that and actually expand it. And it's possible for you. It's possible for you. And it doesn't matter where you are on the journey to your dreams. Now, sometimes it will take, a year or two of not just planting the seeds, but tending to the seeds before we have that year that just explodes. But some of you might feel like I'm at that point. I've been planting seeds, watering seeds. I'm ready for the explosion. Some of you might be like, I am just planting the seed. No matter where you are, it's possible for you to create a logical success, and you're going to learn how to do it in these sessions. I'm seeing, so a couple of you are like writing. I always wanted to write, but I had so much inner resistance. Yeah, the best recipe to be unhappy. Yeah, but as I say, Lisa, I think it's also the greatest gift that you receive, because when you learn how to overcome that inner resistance, you have something incredible. Like, it sets you free in a whole different way. All right, so we are now going to dive into the top 3 reasons why people stay stuck. And my invitation to you as we go through these and as we dig into all of this, and there's a lot of stuff here, is, just be open and consider your own patterns and see if there's anything that where you're like, yep, gotta admit, I've been doing that. And I would be shocked if you haven't engaged in at least 1 or 2 of these things. I know these things because I've done them all. Right? And today it's hard for me not to write exactly. Okay, so reason 1, you focus on doing rather than being. So what this looks like is when you want a particular result, when you've decided, okay, this is my dream, this is my goal, you immediately, and all our brains do this. This is how human brains work. We go, how? But how am I going to do it? What do I need to do? Tell me what to do. Right? Like, if I want to sell a script by the end of the year, how do I do it? Tell me what I need to do. And you research and you figure out a plan of how to achieve it. And then you start doing your plan. This all seems logical, right? And it does make sense, because we all know actions create results. If I want a certain result, if I want to sell a script, I'm going to have to take actions to make that happen. So I'm going to have to send query letters, for instance, right? And try to meet people and reach out to people. I'm going to have to take these actions, and it's by those actions that I'll get the result that I want. So it makes sense. And also, we would be aware that if you take the right actions, you'll create the results you want. So if I take the right actions, I take them enough, I'm going to get the result that I want. Logical, right? No one's going to argue with this. But I think it's really important that you look deeper than this into what's really driving your results. Because if it was that simple, everyone would be rich, skinny, living their best lives in all the ways, right? So there's more to it than just what do I need to do. Knowing what you need to do is rarely the issue. For instance, when I wanted to write my first screenplay, knowing how to write a screenplay was not my biggest problem. That's not why it took 3 years to write that first screenplay. It was something completely different. So let's look at it. So here on the top line, we have results, right? And this is like, the top of your iceberg, the top of the mountain is the results that you create in your life. So that might be selling your script. That might be writing your script. That might be starting your business. That might be like, making $10,000 a month in your business, whatever it is, whatever result. So you can think about what result it is that you want to create in your life right now. And you can think about it right there. And then actions. So the actions create the results. And that's irrefutable. It's because you will take certain actions that you will create that result. You cannot create that result without taking actions. If you want to make $10,000 in your business every month, you're going to have to create offers, right? You're not going to make 10,000 if you don't ask people for money. Like there's only one way for that to happen. If you want to sell your script, you're going to have to get people to read it. Like no one's going to buy it if they haven't read it, right? So you're going to have to take actions to get the results you want. That's irrefutable and totally essential. But the question then has got to be like, what's driving your actions? And your actions are actually being driven by your feelings. Okay. And this is a really interesting thing. You're like, well, are they? Well, think about this. So feelings are driving actions. So the way that you feel is going to determine what actions you take. It's also going to determine how you take them, the attitude in which they're taken. And we're going to actually take the next line because I want to just expand on this. The thing that's creating your feelings is your thoughts. Okay. Learning this and really understanding this is something that just has the power to completely change your life. And it's something we can think we can understand, but it's something that we need to practice to really shift. Because most of us have been taught that our thoughts are about the circumstances and our feelings are also about circumstances. So, for instance, if I feel despondent and powerless and frustrated because my script just got rejected by a producer who I thought was amazing, right? So now I'm depressed and despondent and feeling powerless because my script got rejected. Now I can go like, I'm feeling this way because my script got rejected. Like the script got rejected, that's the circumstances, and that's what's causing my feeling. Now, if I'm feeling like that and I want the result of selling my script, but my actions now are going to be tempered by that feeling. Like I might not even take actions. If I'm feeling really despondent and really like, oh God, you know, like nothing ever good happens to me, I probably won't take any actions at all. But even if I do take the actions, they're probably going to be coming from quite a, you know, quite a sticky energy, right? But let's look at this because your feelings are not actually coming from the circumstances. What do I mean? Well, say for instance, you're in this situation, so your script has just been rejected by this producer. You could be feeling despondent and depressed, but you could also be feeling light, enthusiastic, positive, and more clear than ever that everything's working out. And you're like, what? Could I be feeling that? Yeah, of course. You know, you could have got that rejection and just immediately gone into, I wonder why they didn't like it. I wonder if there's anything to be had there. You know, like, I wonder if maybe there's something the way that I pitched it that didn't land for them. I want, you know, and you're not actually like, oh, this is terrible. I'm never going to sell my script. You're just like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't right for them. Is this or something better? Now, the circumstances in these two situations are identical. Can we see that? So the feelings are not being driven by the circumstances. The feelings are not being driven by the circumstances. The feelings are being driven by your thoughts about the circumstances. So in one instance, your thoughts are, this is a disaster. I'm never going to sell my script. Nothing ever works out for me. Those are thoughts. Those are not the circumstances. And in another instance, though, you're thinking, well, you know, that person's obviously just not right for me, but it's great that I made contact with them and maybe something will come from that relationship in the future. And who should I write to next? Right? Your thoughts are different, so therefore your feelings are different. Nothing's changed in the circumstances. The circumstances remain the same. The circumstances are this person rejected your script. But it's your thoughts that create your feelings. And then your feelings are driving your actions. And if you still feel empowered and enthusiastic and like my success is inevitable, your actions are going to be very different. You're still going to have an enthusiasm and a lightness and an energy in your actions that you won't have if your feelings are like, oh my God, it never works. I'm exhausted and it's just shit. Do we see this? Okay. So where are your thoughts coming from? Important question, right? So the thoughts are about your circumstances. That's correct, right? Like you can see that. You're thinking thoughts about what's happening. Like you look at your bank account and you're thinking a thought about it. Right? You're looking at all the different circumstances in your life and you're thinking thoughts about them. So they're about those circumstances. But the attitude of the thought, like whether the thought has like takes on that negative bent or that positive bent, will typically be driven by your beliefs. So for instance, if I believe that the world is inherently unfair, unjust, that it's really tough to break into the film industry, if I believe that, you know, you have to be lucky or you have to be born in the right place, then, you know, when I experience certain things, my thought response is going to be based on those beliefs. So you know, my script is rejected by this producer. If I believe that inherently is, you know, the world is loaded up against me, then I'm just going to get proof of that, and immediately my thoughts are going to be, oh well, there you see, is like is exactly what I've always thought. So your beliefs, your underlying beliefs are really driving your thoughts to such a great extent. If your beliefs, on the other hand, are like, everything's always working out for me, my success is inevitable, your producer rejects you, you're like, who cares, right? So the attitude of your thoughts is really being driven by this undercurrent of beliefs. Now you can ask yourself, what are beliefs? What are your beliefs, right? Where did they come from? Because beliefs are not facts. Beliefs are not facts. And again, this is something that when you really get it, it just liberates you, because you realize like so much of what you believe, and it is creating your reality. Like your beliefs are creating your reality. And the beliefs are not facts. So if you believe, if you believe it's really hard to get ahead, everywhere you look, you'll see more evidence of it. Everywhere you look. But it's your belief that's making you see that. If you believe that it's really easy to get ahead, you'll see everywhere you look, it's easy to get ahead. That's what you're going to experience. Your beliefs are creating your reality. But your beliefs are not actually facts. They're just stories that you've told yourself over and over, and they've become this set pattern in your brain. So it's like the default. Is everybody following this? Just drop in the chat if you're following this, if this is all clear, if you're getting it. Now, below this, below your beliefs, is your subconscious and your identity. And something that will just blow my mind for as long as I live is that 95% of your brain is subconscious. 95%. 5% is conscious. 5% is the thoughts you think. 5% is, I want to sell my script. I want to have a quantum year. I want to make my movie, right? La, 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 right? That's 5 freaking percent. 95% below the surface. Like we don't even know what's going on in there. 95. I don't know about you. That just blows my mind. So the thing here though is this 95% of your brain, when you were born, it already had some tendencies, right? There's some genetic coding that you have received, some inherited genetic dispositions already before anything happens. But then your subconscious is mostly written in the first 7 years of your life. So, that saying, give me the first 7 years and I'll give you the man. That's why, right? Because in the first 7 years, your subconscious was written upon by the people who cared from you, by your experiences, by what you were told, right? So all these things just like wrote your basic operating system. If you imagine yourself, you came in as this like blank computer, but then in the first 7 years, your operating systems were written. And for the most part, it doesn't change in your life unless you consciously and deliberately make the effort to change it, right? But mostly like these subconscious stories are written in there. And that's what will also help you, make you gravitate towards beliefs. So if in your family growing up, it was like, artists never make money, right? Like if you're an artist, you're going to starve. And you sort of heard that as a child, and it's like, it's really hard to make money and money's really difficult. You got to be practical. That's the only way to make money. And you really, as a small child, you drank that up, right? And you had no choice to, right? That's what happens. Your brain was written in. And so now your belief system is like, it's really hard to make money. Like that's just an underlying belief. Like that's what, it's like, yeah, of course. Like everybody knows that it's hard to make money, and it's really hard as an artist to make money. And so it's just like written into you. And then what happens? The beliefs are creating the thoughts, and the thoughts are creating the feelings, and the feelings are creating the actions are creating the results. And so this is that thing that when we're like, oh, I want to create some new result. Okay, so now I've decided I'm going to make my money as an artist, right? So I'm going to take actions to get that result. But you can see if below that line, if below that action line is not in alignment with that result that you desire, it's not going to work. Because here's the deal. Your subconscious, you know what the goal of your subconscious is? The whole purpose of it is to keep you alive. That's it. Its only concern is survival. That's it. Nothing else. It does not care about you living your best life, fulfilling your goals, doing incredible things. It doesn't even really care about you thriving. It cares about you surviving. The lizard brain part of you, right? It's just like survival. And how does it survive? It survives by doing the same things that you've always done, by thinking the same thoughts that you've always thought. Anytime that you try to do something new, your brain is like, oh, hell no, let's not do that. Right? Doesn't like it. Doesn't like it for a few reasons. Doesn't like it because it actually consumes more energy to think new thoughts. It's like, we are here to run on as little energy as possible. That's our design, right? And it really is designed like that. Let's run on as little energy. So let's just like get into patterns, do the same things, not have to think, be on automatic response all the time. Think new thoughts? Nah, 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 nah. Do new things? Oh, hell no. Try something new? We might die, right? Subconscious is like, you're gonna die. Can't do that. And so this is that thing that your actions, you're like, I'm going to change my actions. Like, this is the year I'm going to lose that 20 pounds. You're like, I'm going to do these. I'm going to go to the gym all the time. But unless your subconscious and identity is in alignment with that result that you want, it will sabotage it. It will find a way to make sure that you don't do it. And then you'll be wondering, what's wrong with me? So, this is the problem with tackling things on the action line. If your identity below it, and I just want you to feel that it's like that iceberg image, where it's like up above here, we've got the conscious brain and the actions and the results, but all the stuff below, if that's not in alignment with what you desire, your actions are doomed to fail. And this is why so many of us, have these big goals, have these big dreams, have these big intentions, and don't get there. It's because we're not in alignment. So here's some signs that your subconscious identity is not in alignment with your goals or with the results that you desire. And as I say, as we go through, I have experienced and lived all of these, so I can speak about them in depth. Procrastinate. Well, some of them not so much. We'll go through it. Procrastination. So what this looks like, many of you will know, it's that thing where you're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I really want to write my screenplay, but I just seem to, like, the minute I sit down, I faff around for an hour and I don't do it. Like, I must be lazy. There's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. Your subconscious is not in alignment with you achieving this goal. It thinks if you write your screenplay, you're going to die. So it's like, find a way to stop her from writing the screenplay. Procrastinate, hit the procrastinate button, right? And you're like, there's something wrong with me. I'm just lazy. I just procrastinate. Honestly, it's like there's something in your identity that's keeping you safe from doing the thing. Another one that rears its head for a lot of people is perfectionism. This is not one that I personally battle with so much, I have to be honest, but I've seen it in a lot of other people. And that's that thing where, you want to get your work out into the world, but it's never quite good enough. I better write another one. I better do another draft, right? And you never put things out. So that is the perfectionism. Yeah, if you write your screenplay, you're going to die. You're literally going to die. Now, another one is that you are always too busy. It's like, I really want to do these things, but I just don't have time. I don't have time. You have the time. This is your subconscious and your identity stopping you from doing it because it's scared. You have the time. Now, I know some of you might be like, Diane, you don't know my life. I really don't have time. What I'm going to say to you is, like, literally all you really need to go after your big dreams is 30 minutes a day. You have 30 minutes every day. Just set your alarm clock 30 minutes earlier and you've got that, right? It's not a problem about time. And so if that's your thing, you're like, oh, the problem for me is I just don't have time. Breathe and recognize this is not about that. It's something much deeper. Now, another thing is self-sabotage. And, this was something that I really ran up against when actually I had sort of like made some dreams come true. And now I was like moving into that next level. And it was, it really hit in. It hit hard. Would you say resistance in general is a good orientation? I'll get to that. I'll look at it because it's like a guardian. Lisa, this is an interesting question. So, self-sabotage for me, this really kicked in when, for instance, I mean, I had different varieties of it throughout my life, but after my film was in Sundance, and so it's like, your dreams are coming true. I got this great manager and agent, and they sent me to different meetings with incredible film companies and, pitch ideas, and they would say, oh, we have this book or we have this thing, and do you want to write a pitch for it? And do you know what I would do? Nothing. I wouldn't get back to them. So I had these incredible opportunities and I would just like not do it. Self-sabotage. I'd be like, why am I not doing it? Like they have an open door to me. They're like, get back with your pitch for this. And I just wouldn't do it. I'd just be like, and I couldn't even explain it to myself why I wasn't doing it. But now I understand this. Unfortunately, at that time, I didn't know this stuff. So don't just think that this is really, just at the beginning stages of making your dreams come true. In actual fact, like as you achieve certain results and now you're like, okay, got this, mastered this, like you're on to the next, you're on to the next level, like a video game or something, right? And it's like a new set of monsters that you got to kill. And every time these things will rear their heads. Now, another one is buffering with alcohol, binge eating, watching TV, scrolling through social media, shopping, whatever it is for you. This is another one, right? Because it's that thing that your subconscious just like, let's not do the thing that really matters, right? Just stay safe with something that just like takes your mind off it and makes you feel good briefly. I definitely, for many years, had the issue with buffering with alcohol. I don't consider myself to be an alcoholic and I don't consider myself in recovery, but I am 6 years alcohol free now. Best choice I made. But you know, that again was a method for me just to block because I wasn't ready to be at the level that I was moving towards and that I wanted consciously to get to. Now, another one is getting sick or experiencing family dramas when you get close to achieving those big goals. And a lot of people have experienced that pattern, right? That the minute you really go after your goal, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it, but I've got this sickness again, or my knee is acting up again, or oh my gosh, suddenly I'm having arguments with my partner. And again, this is just a sign that there's something deeper going on. Now, I don't want you to take this and beat yourself up. Like if you're recognizing yourself in any of these things, what I want you to know is like you're human, right? You're human. This is normal. Like these things are all normal. And I think what's important is recognizing the real cause of them because we tend to think of these things as being the problems. Here's the problem that's stopping me from achieving my goal. These are not the problems, these are symptoms of the problem. Okay, like just like I hope you can just get that, write that down. These things, you could screenshot them. These are not the problems. These are symptoms of the underlying problem. And the underlying problem is that in your subconscious, there's a block, there's a fear of like what would happen if you achieve that result. And when we can work at that level and work down below, so we're not just like, what do we have to do? What do I have to do? We can talk all the time about what you need to do. You know, and this was my journey as a teacher and mentor. When I started teaching filmmaking, I was like, why are not more of my people making their films? I'm teaching them exactly what they need to do. And then I realized it's not about what you do. It's about who you're being. Because these things will always raise their heads and they will stop you from achieving your goals every time. And this is why most people, you know, for instance, they start diets and they can't lose the weight. Or like lottery winners, you've probably heard that 75% of lottery winners after 2 years are back to where they were before they won the lottery, right? They're broke again 2 years later. Why? Because their identity is not in alignment with that result. And so your subconscious will find a way to get back to the result that it feels comfortable with. Yeah, and these are not character flaws or failings. They're not. And they're not the problem. They're just not. And as I said, when you actually really get this, it's like it's so liberating because you realize, okay, now I know though what I really need to focus my attention on, right? These are not the problems. They're just symptoms. The self-sabotage. I would reach my personal glass ceiling a number of times. Yes. I know. I know. And I feel like it's, it's so funny for me to like admit these things, admit that level of self-sabotage when I reflect back on it. And it's like, oh my gosh, you feel some shame or some regret or some, like all those things. But also I just know like genuinely, and I wish someone had taught me this and I wish I'd known this, that it was just quite simply like my subconscious keeping me safe at that point. And now that I know that, like, there's tools for you to like really support yourself in expansion, not just so that you can make your big dreams come true, but so you can hold them when they do. And that's a big thing for a lot of people. So when you focus on who you are being instead of what you're doing, you align energetically with your goal. And I have this image in my brain that like, if you're trying to just do it from the action line, it's like, okay, I want this result and I'm not even going to think about who I'm being. I'm just going to like start doing the do. It's kind of like, jumping in a kayak and saying, I want to go there and start paddling, right? And you're paddling upstream because your whole subconscious is flowing in the other direction. And so now you're paddling and you're like, I'm going to do this, right? I'm game on. I'm determined. I really want this result. I'm going to make it happen. You're paddling and you're paddling, and you're paddling, and you're paddling, and you're paddling. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is exhausting because you're trying to paddle upstream. But when you heal and transform, when you get yourself, like you do that inner work to get your subconscious, to get your identity, to get your beliefs, your thoughts and your feelings in alignment with where you want to go, when all of those things are in alignment with where you want to go, now you're on that river. And you know what? You don't even need to paddle. You don't even need to paddle. And I bet you every single person who's watching this has experienced that moment in life where like some magical outcomes have happened. You're like, I don't even know. Like, I didn't even have to work hard to make that happen. Like, that was not hard work and hustle. And it's just like, oh my God, and I've created this epic, incredible result. And that's because everything was in alignment. And when everything's in alignment, it flows. And you don't have to work that hard. Isn't that lovely? Right? No stress, no overworking, like actually everything's in alignment. And so the funny thing is that we always start this idea of like, how do I get to my big goals? And we're like, what do I need to do? Right? I'm willing to do the work, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. But it's not about that. It's about getting yourself into total alignment, because getting into that flow where you're like, okay, my subconscious is like a prime for this, my identity, my beliefs, I'm working on my beliefs and I'm shifting them, I'm changing them, and I'm thinking thoughts that actually serve me, and I'm feeling feelings that get me in the right vibe. That's the key to it. Okay. So when you try to make your dreams come true through action alone, you sign up for the struggle and wonder why it's not working. And if you have had, some time where you feel like you've just been like working, doing, and you're not getting what you want, it's time to do something different. Focus on your inner being. Focus on the quality of your being. Focus on your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings. Shift those and you will shift your results. Now, reason number two, and just before I go on with reason number two, reason number one, is everyone feeling it? People here with me live? Have you got any, is this making sense to you? And do you get it? I hope so. Okay, yeah, a lot of sense. Okay, great. Thank you. Reason number two, you are not all in. You're not all in. So this is a humongous one. And I can imagine if you're sitting at home right now, you're like, I'm all in. Don't need to worry about this. I'm all in. Right? Let's have a look below the surface. Of course you say you're all in. But here are a few signs that maybe you are not. And we're going to talk about why being all in is so important too, and why it's such a big key. So some signs that you're not all in. When things do get challenging, you back down, right? This is a really big one, because I see a lot of people saying they're all in, but the minute they're hit with something that's like really kind of stretching them out of their comfort zone, that could actually help them get the result that they want, they just suddenly find a reason not to do it, right? And there's that thing coupled with this, you find rational reasons not to make the big scary moves. So there's some sort of thing that you could do that could really possibly be the thing, but you're like, actually, though, pros and cons, right? List of pros and cons. No, actually, it doesn't make sense to make that move. Now, something that I want to share is every time that I have created these quantum leap years, I always share about how the fact it wasn't off the back of a lot of like hustle and stress and, pushing and striving. It wasn't that. But in each and every case, there were huge challenges. There were huge moments where I could have like really just backed down or folded, and that involved me taking massive personal risks. So what do I mean by this? For instance, selling my first screenplay, the producer who was interested in it had given it to this actor. We needed this actor's involvement. The film was called Mickey and Me. It was about Mickey Rourke. We needed Mickey Rourke. Without Mickey Rourke, there was no movie. And so, it all seemed to be like coming together. I was so excited. And then just at the beginning of the year, I received an email from this producer where he said, it's not going to work, right? Look at the email below. And the email below was from Mickey Rourke's agent saying, we're not going to do it. It's too risky for Mickey. It could really backfire and look bad for him. So we're going to pass on it. And at that moment, I could have folded then. I was in Dumfries, Scotland, by the way, staying with my grandmother and, in this little house in Dumfries in the borders. And, I could have just like folded then and be like, oh, okay, well, that's a shame. But I just like poured my heart into an email, like as to why they were wrong, and it was it was impassioned, but I was like, they're wrong. Like, how could they possibly, right? And I explained why this would not be a bad move for Mickey and why this movie was like so special and all these things. So the producer forwarded it to Mickey's agent, and Mickey's agent got back and said, I love Diane's passion. Could we meet this week? I'm in Dumfries, Scotland. I had no money. right? I had no money at this time in my life. Like I was a yoga teacher, living lucky, if I was lucky, month to month, being able to pay my rent kind of thing. I'd already got into debt going to the Cannes Film Festival. I had not paid off that debt. I was paying the like minimum credit card repayment every month. And, and it's like, but what did I do? And, this is that example of that all in energy. I just immediately got my credit card out and booked and maxed it out, booking a flight to LA, a hotel in Los Angeles, and a rental car, right? I didn't go like, okay, really sorry about this, but I'm in Dumfries. Any possibility we could jump on a call instead? Which I could have done, right? I could have gone like, this doesn't make sense. It's not rational. I mean, what if I go there and I don't sell the scripts, right? I just like, and that's that all in energy. Now, what is special about all in energy is it comes from like radical faith. Why did I get my credit card out and just go like, fuck it, I'm booking a flight to LA tomorrow, right? I did that because I really believed. I had faith in myself. I had faith in the project. I had faith that even if it didn't work out, I'd figure it out. Like that level of faith. Right? I didn't know if it would work out. I had no way of like knowing if I was going to actually manage to go to that meeting and convince them, right? I didn't know that. There's no guarantees. But I had a level of faith like in the whole situation that I'm like, I'm not backing down. I'm all in. And I can't stress this enough because I feel like I see a lot of people who say they're all in, but the minute is like a little bit challenging or stretchy, it's like, okay, not that much all in though. Well, how big is your faith if it's not all the way, right? Like, how big is it really? It's the same thing when I set up my business. The thing that took my business to that expansion was investing in a coaching program that was $1,500 a month. And when I invested in that, I mean, I literally had $1,500. It was like, okay. But I went, you know what? Like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work. And that level of faith is what it takes, right? It's like, it's not, okay, I really think this could help me and this could get me there, but I'm not going to do it because what if it doesn't work? If I'm focused on why it won't work and what, why it's not going to work, guess what? It's not going to work, right? You're not all in and it's not going to work. So you have to be making moves as if your success is inevitable. And it's not, this is not, and I really want to stress this, this is not about like, you got to be reckless big moves. It's not about making reckless big moves. It's about your faith. It's about really dialing in your faith. Now, of course, it is understandable that you don't want to make these big moves, right? You don't want to take the risks because, here's the thing. You don't actually have proof that you can pull this off. You don't know. Right? Me selling my script, I didn't know if I could pull it off. I'd never done anything like that before in my life. So, it was a big risk and you don't have proof. So it's scary, right? You've never done anything like this in the past. If it is a big dream, I guarantee you've not done it. And here's the deal. It's a little crazy to believe you can do this. It is a little crazy. I'm just going to say though, it's the good kind of crazy, but you got to be a little bit crazy. When I set out to make my film Obsoletia, it was a little crazy to think that I could raise $120,000, make a movie when I'd never made a movie before, and get it into Sundance when only 1.4% of movies get selected for Sundance. That's a little crazy to think that you're going to do that. But you got to be a little bit crazy, right? So the problem is that if we're trying to stay safe as we go after our dreams, we're sort of like, want to be careful here. Don't want to take too much risk. That might not work. The problem is the what's happening in the world is the universe is responding to you and to your energy, right? If you have full faith that something is going to happen, it just delivers it to you. If you're like, not really sure, a little bit, no, right? You're like half in, half out, half in, half out. You're not going to get anywhere. It's not going to happen, right? Creating a quantum year does not come from half in energy. Now, I just want to really caveat this always because it's not about just like burning bridges and like have no plan B. Like if your nervous system can't be held by that, don't do that. Right? Like, and this is that thing of having your wisdom and your discernment, of growing and expanding your level of faith, but ultimately to create a quantum year, your level of faith needs to be off the charts because that's what the universe responds to and that's what you get back. And if you're operating from a place of doubt or fear, or like, I don't know if this is going to work, it's not going to work. You have to be like locked into the extent that you are all in because you're like, I have total faith. I have faith that we're going to make this happen. Maybe not now, maybe not with this, but I'm going to make it happen eventually. And I also have faith that if it doesn't work, I can hold myself. And if you have that, there's nothing to stop you, and you will create a quantum year. That's what it is. So, a little bit about the law of attraction. And this is like the law of attraction 101, and most of you will probably know this, but it is worth, like, covering, because we're going faith. Like, why should it matter if I'm in faith or not? Right? Like, surely, again, it's really about what I do. No, you are energy. You are literally an energetic being, and you live in an energetic field. We are energy, right? And this is science. This is not like woo woo, whatever new age stuff. It's like, it's science. It's quantum physics. Hence, we're in quantum year, right? We are energy. Now, energy, just like matter, is governed by universal laws, and these hold true in all cases, in all times. That means there are zero exceptions to them. The law of attraction states that like attracts like. This is irrefutably true, right? So something that is of one energetic frequency attracts other things that are of the same frequency. It's like, oh, we match. Ching. And things that are of different frequencies like repel each other. So it's like magnets, we're like pushing them away. Now, everything has a frequency. Everything has an energetic frequency. Your dreams have a frequency, right? Money has a frequency. Love has a frequency. Fear has a frequency. So your frequency, you're sending out your frequency constantly, it's pulling back to it things that are like that, right? There's things that match it and things that don't match it. And this is really, right, the energy of faith, energy of certainty, right? That confidence. That is a very close match to whatever it is that you desire to bring into your life. The energy of doubt, the energy of fear, the energy of uncertainty. That is definitely not going to bring in what you want, right? So we've got to just like get this. When you are all in, and again, it's not really about just like the fact that you do the do, right? It's just that you are now like, when you are all in, it's just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's because your energetic frequency is so rock solid in faith. If your dominant frequency is doubt and fear, you're going to attract results that match that frequency, doubt and fear. The universe is like, okay, doubt and fear, I'll give you things to doubt and fear. But if your frequency is faith and you've got yourself just focused on what you want, you're not focused on it not working. You don't really give any brain space to thinking about it not working. Like, it's just not something you're available for. And I can say honestly, when I've created these quantum leap years, it's totally like that. Like you don't spend any time wasting your brain cells on what if it doesn't work. You're completely focused on it working. What if this worked? What if I actually get on that plane, like I max out my credit card, and I get on that plane and I sell the script? Like, what if it actually worked? That's my brain space. Not like, what if I actually get on my credit card and they end up not liking the script and they don't buy the script, and I'm now like, over $5,000 in debt and I don't have any way to pay it. Like, that's not where my brain is. So what you focus on is what's expanding, what your frequency is, what you're attracting, and this is really the key to making a quantum year. Like, this is the stuff that actually moves the needle, because if we're looking for logical results, we're going to need the universe's help. This is not about you controlling everything. This is not about just you doing the do. This is about opening ourselves up to miracles. This is about opening ourselves up to that flow. This is about really aligning ourselves energetically on the deepest level, letting ourselves be carried there, and, like going to somewhere that we're like, how is this possible? So faith is the key here. Being truly all in means you do what it takes and what you are guided to do, even if it doesn't make sense or it feels terrifying. And this is just a huge part of this journey, right? Because if we're trying to stay safe and we're trying to like be logical and rational and all those kinds of things, we can still make good progress, right? You can make good progress, but you're not going to have that quantum year. The quantum year comes when you're just like, you are all in. And that energy, the universe responds to it in a completely different way. You trust that your success is inevitable, so you do make big, bold moves, right? You're not playing small anymore. You're not playing safe. You're like, I know it's going to work out. I know it. And you live accordingly. And that's what creates the magic. And you take action from your faith rather than your doubt. This changes everything. And I really see it as simple as that, there's just these two energies, right? There's the energy of faith and there's the energy of fear. And almost everything you do is coming from one of those energies. And it could be the same action, but it's like, what's the energy behind it? Because it's the energy behind it that creates the results. So, if you just make it your mission this year to be constantly like, where's my energy flowing? And you're human, you're going to have fear, you're going to have doubts. It's not that you will never have doubt, you will have doubt. You don't have to be perfectly like in faith 100% of the time. You'll have days where you just wake up and you think, oh my God, it's not working. But when you start to understand this and you start to just tap into your body, like where is my faith? And if I'm not feeling the faith, is there something that I can do about it? Like why am I not feeling faith? Right? And what can I do to look after myself to get my faith amped up again? Because when your faith is strong, you will create magic. Yeah. Okay. So reason number 3, you lose faith when you don't see immediate results. And honestly, this was one that breaks my heart and that I see all the time, with people who are very talented, who are good people, who have amazing ideas and do amazing work and all the things. But here's what happens: you feel aligned, you get excited, you take action, you come something like this, you're all pumped up after these classes and you're like, right, I'm gonna take the big actions, I'm gonna do the things, and then you don't get the result that you want. And to be honest, that's gonna happen. Right? Like, this is the path to success: is we take actions and don't get the result that we want. It's not like that's avoidable. That's part of the path, right? But when you don't get the result that you want and you don't get it fast, and we all have different ideas of fast. For some people, it's like do one thing and it doesn't work, and they're like, oh, right? For some people, it's like 5. For some people, it's like 10. But we all have our threshold at which we're like, hmm. And what happens is you start to doubt yourself, is that old thing. You start to doubt your project, you start to doubt your work, you start to play the blame game. Oh, it's because the economy is really bad. Oh, it's because the film industry's screwed. Oh, it's because of this, because of that, right? Like, project it out there. You start to say, maybe it's just not meant to be, right? And what happens ultimately is you give up. And as I say, I see this all the time. For some people, it's like different thresholds. Some people, it's just like 2 rejections and they're already at this. Some people, it takes a lot more, but lots of people, right? This is what will stop you from creating your quantum year. And notice that what's really happening here is the doubt, right? We just talked about the importance of faith, but the doubt here is what is really the killer. Now, what you need to know is that the door to your dreams is opened by small actions taken consistently, applied over time. Screenshot if you like. Okay, because this is such an important thing for us always to remember. We tend to think these massive dreams are going to happen because of massive action, but actually it's just small actions taken consistently, applied over time, that are going to move the needle towards your dreams. And what that means is it doesn't necessarily happen instantly, and it will often seem like it's not working until it works. So, yeah, we might get 10 rejections, we might get 20 rejections, but that doesn't mean that that next one is going to be another rejection, right? So we've got to just keep taking the actions. Now, the door will not open if you are inconsistent in your faith. And you can be somewhat inconsistent, like I said. You can have days where you like doubt things, that's fine. But you've got to be at least 51% of the time in faith, right? We really want to work on that. It's such an important thing, right? Get the faith up. Now, the next thing is the door is not going to open if you hang on to victim status, always making excuses and blaming other things. It's that thing, you might have heard it. You get to choose. You can be a victim or you can have your dreams. Choose. And a lot of us, we like our victim status. It's nice to blame other things. It's nice to be like, it's because the industry is screwed, right? There's nothing getting made. It's impossible. It's the worst time ever. Okay, that's great. But that completely gives your power away. Like, you have just given your power away. If you want to create quantum leaps in your life, you have to call in your power and live from your power, right? That's how you create that sort of energy to create a quantum leap. You decide that I'm the most powerful person in my life. And that doesn't mean that we're not gaslighting ourselves into like denying reality, right? Like yeah, the economy might be bad, But you're not going to let that be the excuse that stops you because, for instance, if you are a filmmaker and you want to make films, you're like, well, the industry is screwed, nobody's making films. That's not true, actually. People are making films. It's just not true. That goes into that thing about our beliefs, right? And we start to see it through our goggles. So we're like, nobody's making films. Lots of people are making films. In fact, record numbers of films, right? So why not yours? So we've got to lose the victim status. We will not open the door to our dreams. We will not quantum leap if we're attached to being a victim on any level. Now, another thing is if you don't learn from your efforts and keep trying new ways. This is an important one because what I often see with people is we try something like, say, and I'm going to use the script example. And I know not everyone here is screenwriters or filmmakers, but hopefully these examples still just hold for all different areas of life. So, you've written a script and you put it out and you get 3 rejections. So now you're like, the script's screwed. Like, there's obviously something wrong with the script. I need to write something new, right? And you go write a new thing. Now, this is, on one hand, we say, well, we're trying a new thing. Isn't that the right thing to do? My take on this is if we keep just like pinging from one thing to another without really learning the lessons, we're not creating that momentum, like compounding the momentum that really creates the big breakthrough. Now, if you did write another script, but it's like, oh, I'm going to learn from what I feel like wasn't good about this one, that's great. But if I just sort of go, okay, well, I tried writing a romance, but it didn't sell, so now I'm going to write a horror, and it's like, we're just, like going to shut the door on whatever we were doing before and write something completely different. It's like we're not actually building on what we've learned so far. And my encouragement to you, because I feel like the quantum years happen when we really build a momentum, right? There is a focus, and there's maybe a focus on one thing or two things. Like it's a narrow focus. It's quite a single-minded determination with something. And you're constantly learning with it and constantly evolving it and constantly growing with it. And that insistence and persistence with that thing is what creates the breakthrough. It's like, say, for instance, you were thirsty and you're trying to dig a well to get some water. Then you dig a little here and there's no water, and you dig a little here and there's no water, and you dig a little there and there's no water. At some point, you need to go like, commit, right? Like I'm digging here and I'm going to learn here and I'm going to go deep here, right? So there is an element of trying new ways. And like we said at the beginning, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. But I'm also going to say it's kind of insane to keep pinging onto new things and expect to suddenly create the epic results. Like the epic results come from us building. Does this make sense? So I want to make sure that you just get this idea, learn. Like, don't be ashamed when you get the negative result, result that you didn't want. Don't be like, I'm so ashamed and embarrassed, I'm not even going to look at it. It's like, what can I learn from this? How do I grow from this? Because if you can keep doing that, you will get to your quantum leap so much faster. Now, obviously, as well, the door will not open if you give up. That's obvious, right? If you just stop trying to get through it, you're like, I can't. And, something that really made such an impact on me was realizing that you can't lose and you will get what you want if you keep showing up, keep learning, keep growing. It's like, why wouldn't you? I often think of me getting to the Sundance Screenwriters Lab, which some of you will know took me 8 years. 8 years of rejections, right? Which, in hindsight just sounds like, well, it's 8 years of rejections, but then you got there. But when I was in it, it didn't feel that easy. And I could have given up. I could have been like, well, clearly this is not meant for me. I really want to go to the Sundance Screenwriters Lab, but after 7 years of rejections, maybe I should just get the message and give up, right? But I didn't. I kept going. And that's that thing. Keep learning, keep trying new things, keep just being receptive. And if you do stay persistent and consistent, it's inevitable that you get what you want. So what I want to imagine is that you are baking a cake. The result that you want, that dream result, is like the cake. I want to eat the cake. I want a delicious cake. Now, you know a recipe, you follow it to a T, right? Seems like a good recipe. If I do this, it's going to be great. But the one thing that's missing from your recipe is it doesn't tell you how long it's going to bake. So you put it in the oven, you have no idea. You're like, I've mixed everything together, the flour, the eggs, the butter, the sugar, all the things, and I put it in the oven, but I don't know how long it's going to take. Now, this is what so many people are like with their dreams. You do all the things that you need to do to make it happen. And now you're like, okay, has it happened yet? Right? So I put it in the oven. It's like 5 minutes. 5 minutes have passed. Is my cake baked? Let me have a look. Open the oven. Take the cake out. No, not yet. Okay, I'll put it back in. Is it done yet? Is it ready? I open the oven. And this is how people are with their dreams. It's like, okay, I've done something. Have I not got the result yet? Like, surely I get the result now, right? But what's going on? And then what happens after half an hour? You've taken your cake out of the oven like 10 times and it's still just slushy. And you're like, it's not working. There's something wrong with this recipe. Throw the cake in the trash, start again. And this is what so many people are like with their dreams and with the sort of quantum leap results that they want. It's like you've got actually a really good plan in place. You've sown the seeds, you've watered them. Now you just need to let them grow. You need time, right? It's like, it's okay. If you stay persistent, stay consistent, it's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with the recipe. There was nothing wrong with that cake. You just didn't leave it in the right temperature for long enough. Now, the mystery for us with our dreams is we don't have the time that we need to wait for, right? We don't know that, right? We know what we need to do often. It's like, okay, I got this recipe. If I want that result, I got to do these things. If I want to sell my screenplay, I just got to write query letters. But we don't know when it's going to take. Now, your job is basically to keep it in the oven and to keep faith that it's working, even when you cannot see that it is. And this is the real challenge for us because our human brains, like, we want proof. We're like, show me the proof. Like, is this working? Like, give me some proof. I need like a little bit of proof that this is working. Is it working? And when we're not getting that proof, we start to like freak out. So our job is to cultivate this faith. And I want you to think that your faith is like the heat in this oven, right? If you turn the heat off, it's not going to bake. It doesn't bake. Turn the heat on and keep it consistent. That cake will bake. It just takes the time it takes. And, if we can keep consistent faith and we're not poking and prodding and looking for proof every 2 minutes, full of doubt, it will bake. It will bake. And it will bake faster because obviously the more time that we take it out of the oven, the longer it's going to take. Like every time you're like, I don't know if this is working. Let me just check. Right? You're slowing it down. But this is how, can you see how this is like how we are often with our dreams? That we're doing the thing, but then we start to doubt it because it's not happening fast enough. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's like, if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. It would be a cake by now, surely, instead of this slushy mess. No, there's nothing wrong with it. You're just not giving it long enough. You're not keeping it in the heat. If you do, it will be fine. So your faith is the key here. And I want to go out on a limb here and say that committing to stay in the energy of faith until you get the result you want is the number one key to making big dreams come true. And you can screenshot that if you like and really like think about it, meditate on it, consider it, and consider why that is the case. Because if you have faith, even when it's not working, you keep showing up, you keep learning, you keep growing, you keep making moves. And if you keep doing that, it's inevitable that eventually you will create the result that you want. The problem for most of us is the faith. We don't get the result we want, we lose faith. It's taking longer than we expect, we lose faith, right? And when we lose faith, it's like either back to the drawing board and try something completely different. Don't actually learn from what we've been doing, which was like, okay, junk this and do something completely different. We start going into that blame game. So this year, commit to actually like really going, my number one job is just to stay in faith. And even when things are not working, I'm not going to take that as a sign that it's not working in the biggest picture. I'm going to stay in faith. I'm going to stay in faith. And if I can keep staying in faith, I know that I'll create the result that I want. All right, my loves. So as within, so without. What really creates your result is who you're being on the inside. And this is like where I wanted to start these 3 days, because tomorrow, well, it's not tomorrow, it's later today, in fact, 4 p.m. today, we will be going into like actions. We will be talking something about what to do. There'll be a bunch of different work. It's going to be very, very interactive, very much doing work, in the second session, right? But I wanted to start here because I want you to know that I can tell you a whole bunch of things to do. You can make a big to-do list for yourself. But unless you pay attention to what is going on inside, you're setting yourself up for just paddling upstream and exhausting yourself and then giving up because you're frustrated and you're tired out and you're frazzled and you're like, oh, this isn't working. But when we focus on our inner life, we focus on our faith, we focus on really getting in alignment and working out the blocks and getting rid of the things that are holding us back. And then we're like in that flow. Now we're like in alignment. And now it's like so much less effort. You don't actually have to do that much to create the incredible results. And so just shifting our focus from the outside to the inside. That's what today's all been about. And as I say, in day 2, we are going to be looking more at like what we need to do as well, because there is that element as well. It's not just us. So when you understand as within, so without, and most importantly, you have the tools to deliberately choose who you are being on the inside. And when you go all in and you take inspired action from consistent faith, then you create the circumstances for a quantum leap. Okay, so this is like, if we want to know how do we create the circumstances, like what is the ecosystem that we need to create so that this plant can grow, this magical plant, the quantum leap plant, like what needs to happen is that we need to tend the soil, right? And we need to really create this ecosystem in which it can grow. And this is the ecosystem right here, right? We're taking care of our beliefs. We're really looking after our thoughts. We're really being aware about how our feelings are, and without judgment. We're really doing that work to shift things in our subconscious level, in the deepest level, healing ourselves, transforming ourselves. This is what creates that space for these things to happen. And then we're living in faith, so we go all in. We're not like half-assed about it or half-hearted, and we're really aware of these different sabotages that might be happening. And we love ourselves with those, by the way. Instead of like beating ourselves up for it, being like, there's something wrong with me. I'm just lazy. I'm just not disciplined enough, right? I'm just like, I drink too much. I can't help my shopping, whatever it is. Instead of being like that, be like, oh, my friend, right? My beautiful subconscious is keeping me safe. Thank you, subconscious. Thank you for doing your job. I love you and I appreciate you. And we are safe and we are ready to expand. So you get these tools to do that work. And then you will create the circumstances for your quantum leap. And that means your action matters, right? The actions that you take will, like, they just compound, they just explode because they're coming from something that's so potent. And if you think about it, if you're a gardener at all, you'll know the importance of the soil that you have. So this is the soil work, right? If you plant a seed in some soil that's really got no nutrients and it's really sandy or something, it might not grow at all. And if it does grow, it might be a very, sad little plant. But if you've got like really nutrient dense soil and it's really well watered and it's really taken care of, and then you put that seed in, it's just going to explode and you don't have to do much. That's the amazing thing when you're a gardener and you actually get a seed into the right soil in the right place. And it's just like, I don't even have to do anything. And it just grows and grows like crazy, right? So wonderful. This is what we want for you. This is it, right? Like this is when we create that in ourselves, in our being, not in our, not just in what we're doing, but in who we are as people. When we create that kind of nutrient dense soil, then it's like every action that we take actually bears fruit in incredible ways. Okay. So day 2, which is actually happening today at 4 p.m., if you want to do a double bill with me, you're going to get a roadmap to a quantum year. And we are going to actually be doing exercises. There's going to be an element to this where I'm going to be guiding you through things. So bring your journal, bring your pen, be ready to actually do some work, because we're going to create your unique plan for your quantum year and how you're going to do it. Okay. It's going to be super fun. And before that, if you would like to do a little bit of heart work, you can journal on the following things. And these were actually in the pre-work too. If anything could be true for you by the end of 2025, what would you have to be true? Okay, and that's just a really good question to explore. If anything could be true for me in 2025, what would I have be true? Let your imagination run wild. Don't be fettered just by what's practical or logical. Now, obviously, if we're like, well, what would be like, if anything be true, I've written 6 scripts, I've sold 5 of them, 3 of them have been made into movies. That's not going to be possible. Let's be honest, right? It's highly unlikely. But, just feel into it for yourself. and let your heart guide you in this. And then what I'd love you to do is just write, what would it mean for your family and friends if you were able to attain this? And there's something really potent about expanding our understanding of our goals beyond just ourselves, like what the impact of you achieving this would have on the people who are closest to you. All right, my dears. So do the work and then come and join me later today if you can at 4 p.m. my time, which is 10 a.m. Um, 10 a.m. New York, and it's 7 a.m. LA. And I'm not sure what time it is, Sydney, middle of the night. But if you can join me live, please do it. Otherwise, the replay will be hosted because hopefully now we've got it under control and things are recording. So thank you so much if you've been here with me live today. Do you have, if you've got any last questions, please pop them in the chat. And otherwise, we're going to wrap this up now. But I just want to thank you so much for coming to this and being part of this so that I wasn't on my own. When I realized that we hadn't recorded it yesterday, I did have this moment where I was like, should I just record it by myself tomorrow? And then I thought I might as well do it as a class so people can come and join me. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this up. So thank you so much for being here today. This has been a lot. This has been a lot, a lot, a lot. Jackie said so much landed. Okay, good. Then this is that thing that, we can hear this material over and over, and we need to. It's kind of like going to the gym. And, just like going to the gym or doing our yoga practice, we get on the mat every day. And not every day do we have breakthroughs. And sometimes it's like I'm just doing my practice and it's like, and it feels like same old, same old. And you can come to these and be like, I know these things. Like, I actually know all this stuff. And I'm sure a lot of the stuff we talked about today, you're like, I know this. Like, I've read this. But there's something about showing up and again and hearing it over and over. And there might just be one little thing that's new or one little thing, but you just never know too when those big breakthroughs happen. And it's like in yoga, you practice something like you're trying to do a position for years sometimes, and one day it just lands. You can do it, right? So I'm so grateful to you for showing up, and I just honor you for showing up and doing this work. Because you could be doing 1,000 other things, but you chose to come here today and actually focus on this. And I just give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a hug, and just enjoy like thinking about what it is that you really want to create this year. And I'll see you later. All right, take care. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Chuck. Bye.